All right, welcome back to the latest episode of the Starting 11 podcast. My name is Emilio Pena, and I'm your host. I got Morgan Freeland here today. Two of us here to talk about a eventful week of football. Let's start off with yesterday's El Clasico with Barcelona beating Real Madrid 2-1 in pretty important game for the La Liga title race. Barcelona now 12 points clear of Madrid, and I don't want to say it's over, but it appears that it's going to take a lot for Madrid to overtake them for the lead in the race.
Yeah.
Early on, Ronald Araujo scored a own goal
hmm
after Vinicius Jr. took a shot with his left foot, bounced off Araujo's head, giving
Freaky
them the
goal.
lead. Yeah, it
Freaky
was
goal.
super freaky.
Yeah.
I don't want my personal bias against Madrid to seep in here, but I thought Vinicius was trying to cross it more than like I didn't think he was trying to take a shot, but
Yeah.
the ball goes in the net. It's 1-0, and then Barcelona, Sergi Roberto evens it up right before halftime in the extra period, which was
hmm
pretty exciting.
That was his first ever Clasico goal.
Yeah, yeah, big
hmm
deal too. And then probably about in the 80th minute, Marco Asensio scores a goal, or so we thought. It turns out he was offside. Huge moment in the game. Felt like it was slipping away for Barcelona, who they were pretty much dominating the game. They were controlling possession, shots, and everything. They were really in control of the game. And then in extra time, I think the 95th minute,
hmm
Frank Kessie scores the goal to put it up 2-1. And
Yeah.
boy, the back heel that Lewandowski had to
Oh,
I forget who he passed it to, but he does his back heel and then they cross it over to Kessie to take the
yeah.
lead. And, given that Barcelona had that substantial lead in the race, they could have easily just parked the bus and taken the 1 point and, called it a day. But given
hmm
that it is El Clasico, they had to really fight for that second point and
Oh,
end up
definitely.
taking the 3 points home, which I jokingly said it in the chat yesterday. I said, if there's a million Real Madrid haters, I'm one of them. If there's only one Real Madrid hater left, I'm the one. If there are no Real Madrid haters in the world, that means I'm dead.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm joking around. Lots of respect for the club, but I was a little happy to see them lose. Just obviously because
Yeah.
our boy Grant, big Barcelona fan. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah. I mean, it was an exhilarating game. Lots of action. I mean, El Clasico never fails to disappoint. Yeah. I mean, the goals were all great. That back heel pass from Lewandowski to the I also can't remember who he passed it to, but the cross ball into Kessie to finish the game off. I mean, that was obviously the highlight of the game. You can just see how much it means to the players and the spectacle of that game. I mean, it's probably the biggest rivalry in world football. So anytime that game comes on, it's always a pleasure to watch. And you can always expect something great to come out of it. And this edition did not disappoint.
Yeah, and that's coming from you, Tottenham fan, with the huge rivalry with Arsenal. That's another one of the bigger
Oh yeah,
rivalries in the
yeah,
sport. So
yeah,
it definitely is one of the bigger spectacles in sport.
for sure.
Obviously, Grant's not here with us, but he's gonna record something for us. So we're just gonna toss it to him real quick and get his thoughts.
Thanks for the pass off, boys. Honestly, this game kind of surprised me because it was two on the bounce before the game in favor of the Blaugrana. You kind of expected Real Madrid to come out and want that game a little more. I know it was in the new camp, but two wins in a row for Barcelona. You kind of expected Real Madrid wanted to pull one back, and just the way the league is going, being 9 points out, that closes the gap substantially. I mean, 6 points is a lot closer, obviously, than what a 10 point, 12 point gap. 6 points at this point of the season is reasonable to come back and compete for the league. But just getting into the nitty gritty of the game, I heard you guys talking about that assist to Kessier that was from Balde, who I'll get to in a little bit. He's been phenomenal this season. Another incredible youngster out of the academy. I already think right now he's world class. Just kind of my definition is kind of top five, top three-ish in your position in the world, and I definitely think Balde is a top three left back probably in the world right now. Essential to our team, just the way we play, having those fullbacks being able to push up, provide support in the back, quick, be like the ability to guard these really pacey, skillful wingers. Good defender, young kid, good to be around. Really excited about Balde, but and you saw the creative ability of the kid. I think he has 5 assists so far this season, or maybe just this year, which leads all teenagers and all the, I think, top 5 leagues in assists. Maybe he's tied for first, but still, from a left back position for a massive club playing big games, that's pretty impressive. And I don't know. Right now, I think he's on his way to potentially winning the Golden Boy Award, making that potentially 3 straight for the Blaugrana, the Barca kids, after the likes of Pedri and Gavi. But let's talk about the main man of the night, the game-winning goal scorer, not Marco Asensio. We're going to talk about Lionel Kessié. What a signing that was. Just accepted his role. Like, hey, I'm not going to be a starter day in, day out, kind of a rotation player. Gives us a lot of depth, but has the quality above. Like, he could be a starter at a lot of teams all around the world. And for a free signing, knowing kind of the financial troubles Barcelona's in, decided to come play with us, and just such a great player, provides us depth, like I said, and then just a different type of player that we can use in that midfield. Big, strong, shows up in big games clearly. I think this might have been his first Clasico goal. The other one he had, I think, counted as an own goal, but I mean, he still made it happen. And then I think he had one pulled back, or taken back, rather, in one of the Clásicos. So good record there, playing really well. Again, shows up in big games. But leading up to that, we had the Lewandowski. That back heel is just beautiful. I think it was, over to Balde, and he dribbled in, but that just shows his qualities, experience. A lot of strikers, I think, in that situation, knowing they're the goal scorer, kind of in that position, they'd try to take that shot, and Louis, just absolute class. He's absolutely changed this team, his leadership, his technical ability. We've had injury problems in the past. I've seen a lot of Barcelona fans talk about that's down to our medical staff just not being up to par or whatever, but and I think the leadership of Lewandowski, who like rarely injured, even if when he is injured, comes back immediately, nothing crazy. The way he takes care of himself, the way he carries himself, especially for a young group like this, is just essential. And at the beginning, when we first signed him, obviously really happy, world-class striker, debatably the best in the world. In my opinion, is the best in the world. You always wondered, he kind of came here, kind of like Kessié, like a lot of our signings, knowing like the financial troubles. So he truly does want to be here, but you always wondered like how much longer does he have it? And the season he's having, it looks like he'd go 4 or 5 seasons, which is absolutely incredible for us. I mean, the last window has just been incredible to us and exactly what we needed, but yeah, it's pretty impressive doing this without Pedri and Dembele, 2 vital pieces of our season so far. Pedri obviously controlling that midfield, which is so essential, and Dembele, that pace, his ability out on the wing, always so threatening. So yeah, pretty impressive. But Ronald Araujo, another academy kid, not necessarily, he was only there, I think, a couple seasons, but came through the Barca ranks a little bit. But another dominating performance over Vinny. I know there was talks before the game that Real Madrid were considering playing Vinny out on the right just to kind of get him away from Araujo, but we got Balde over there. I would have loved to see that matchup, see what Balde's made of, but kind of unfortunate. Araujo got that own goal, but it was pretty cool seeing Vinny come up to Araujo after, and bad luck, man, like the respect there. Very mutual. I know it's like the biggest rivalry in the world, but it's nice to see that there is that respect, and it gets heated at times, like we saw with the Gavi and Ceballos thing. But at the end of the day, there's massive respect for these 2 clubs. But that Barca back line has just been incredible all year. The likes of Christensen, another free signing that has just been just speechless how well he's played at a critical time in Barcelona's history, with all the financial and the legal trouble I guess we've kind of been in. Just, I don't know, I can't say enough about this team right now. But as far as Real Madrid goes, that attack we talk about a lot, and it's funny, I love it. I get to talk trash about Real Madrid and Vinicius Jr., but he is an absolute class player on his day. Top 3 in the world, probably. You could debate him 1, whatever. We know Vinny's class, and at the end of the day, the lineup Ancelotti went with it's really hurting Vinicius Jr. in these kind of games, because there's no one out on that right that's dangerous. I'm not sure why Fede Valverde was playing technically out on that right wing, but he kind of drops in as a midfielder. I think it's because that Barcelona midfield's so youthful, being able to run, they needed that help, but all the attack was coming down Vinicius' side, and I don't know, it's just really hard, not only for a young player like Vinicius to make things happen when you know that's where it's coming from, and you kind of isolate half the field. Yeah, I mean, even like the Messis of the world, like you really can't expect a ton out of that. But again, Vinicius, absolute class player. Love to see it because it keeps the rivalry just that much more entertaining. It kind of fell off there for a little bit after Ronaldo and Messi left, but I think it's back. Like building back. Excited for that, but back to the midfields. This game was absolutely dominated by Barcelona, and a lot of that has to do with the midfield. Luka Modric, as class as he is, definitely needs some help, and Toni Kroos obviously getting older there, and yeah, the Fede Valverde experiment, him coming out from the right, kind of dropping in. I don't know, it's tough. And then Camavinga, these young players, the Tchouaménis, trying to fit in, trying to figure it out. You don't really get to see the full effect of those guys. So yeah, there's some sorting out to do with that Real Madrid midfield, but still in the Champions League, still dangerous. Can't write them off, but feels good having 3 on the bounce against them, and hopefully we keep it up. We got a Copa del Rey tie against them, up 1-0. I think that will be at the new camp as well. And yeah, potentially we're shooting for that domestic treble. We already have the Super Copa, going for that Copa del Rey, and then winning the league, and 3 trophies after kind of, I don't know, this whole mess again with the transfer budget, this money spending, the legal problems. We're fighting through all that, and I just couldn't be more proud of this team. Real Madrid obviously in the league with us. That's a world-class team. We see what they do every year in the Champions League. The amount of talent they have competing against them, the Atletico Madrids who just recently won the league, it just goes to show how hard this team has worked. And I don't know, I couldn't be more proud to be a Barcelona fan right now. Excited for the end of the year. Hopefully we walk away with 3 trophies, which is a massive success, and next year we can do some damage in Europe and start getting back. And once Messi comes, it's going to be a lot easier. We're going to win the sextuple again. He's going to walk off into the sunset of the Miami beaches, and we get to watch him play here in America after that happens. So yeah, I'm going to pass it back to the boys and the rest of the episode.
All right, well put from a Barcelona fan there. Happy to see him in such joy with the win. Transitioning back to Madrid, though, they did beat Liverpool 1-0 in the second leg of the Champions League to advance. And, obviously, Liverpool fan touched on it before. I was mainly just happy that they didn't get embarrassed like they did in the first game. So it would have been nice to score, but we'll take it. Odds weren't there, Stefan Bajcetic and Jordan Henderson stayed back with illness. So once I saw that James Milner was starting at midfield, I was like, yeah, there's no chance given his age. And in the post game, Jamie Carragher was talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he made some really good points. The guy's been playing right back with real no competition for about 5 years now. And as incredible he is at moving forward and attacking, he's equally as bad at defending, which is an issue when you're a defender, obviously. I wanted to see if you had any thoughts about that too, because I think in our very first episode for the World Cup preview, we joked around about how Alexander-Arnold, if you ask Alexander-Arnold to play defense, you're not getting anything. And I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that, because Liverpool is not the club that they were, 2-3 years ago when they were competing for Champions League, competing for Premier League. It seems like they've fallen back into that second tier of Premier League teams that's really vying for a Final Four spot. Do you think that Liverpool should sign a new right back, do something different with Trent, or any combination of the two?
Given how good Alexander-Arnold is moving up in attack, it seems to me that he would be better suited as a right wing back rather than a right back. I think it'd be interesting to see Liverpool change up their formation into a 3-5-2 or a 3-5, like almost like a kind of like Tottenham, how they play with the 3 center backs and the wing backs. I feel like that would be an interesting, at least maybe an experiment for Klopp to try out, because I can totally see. I mean, Liverpool, they could do with, if they get like one more quality defender in, I think they'd be okay. Their defense is, I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to seem. They definitely need some improvements in midfield, but if they can maybe get like a good quality left wing back, then I think Trent on the right wing, him going up and down the side of the pitch, but having an emphasis on getting up and providing assists and even, taking a shot on goal himself, because we know he can score, and we know how good he is, in the transition from, the defensive half to the attacking half. I feel like that might be something interesting to see play out. But if Liverpool, if Klopp wants to continue with the formation that he's using, then yeah, I think, another right back would not hurt at all. For example, Emerson Royale, for all of this season pretty much was dreadful. But then as soon as Pedro Porro came in, we immediately saw like a stark incline in his performance. He started, he got a team of the week card in FIFA. Like he just all of a sudden started bringing out these incredible defensive displays because he is mainly a right back. Pedro Porro is mainly a right wing back. He is better going forward than Emerson is. But that's what I'm saying though. Like, you need that competition, because that brings out the best in players. Because if Alexander-Arnold had someone competing for his spot in the team, then obviously that's going to want him to, fight for that spot even more and perform even better in games. So yeah, it wouldn't hurt to bring, if they want a quick fix, then yeah, I would just say bring another right back. But if they want to maybe try something new, because clearly this season has not been their best in a few years now, then I think they should maybe try switching up a formation, something along those lines.
I would agree 100%, especially when Liverpool was winning titles. Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, a lot more. They were in their primes more, so they can recover on defense. They can cover for him a little bit better. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk was like the best defensive player in the world at the time too, so that definitely helps as well. And right now, the only real competition that Alexander-Arnold has for right back is whenever he does come out, they throw James Milner in at right back. And if that's your real competition, 37, 38-year-old James Milner, then like you said, there might be a need for some added depth. And going back to what you're saying about playing the wing back too, you could even put Andy Robertson back there too at left wing back, because he's pretty good at moving forward too.
Yeah.
But he's solid at coming back to defend as well. So especially too with the news that Jude Bellingham most likely won't be signing with Liverpool. The need for midfield is definitely, there's definitely need there. And you can't rely on the young kids like Elliott and Bajcetic to develop into stars, because they're still teenagers. So
Right.
can't rely on that, especially if you're trying to compete in the now.
Of course, yeah. If you want to challenge for titles and silverware right now, you can't put a lot of pressure on the younger players, because that'll just end up more or less ruining their careers.
Exactly. And I had this on the list lower down, but you brought up Tottenham, you brought up Emerson Royale, you brought up Pedro Porro. So I feel like it's only right that we transition into Tottenham. And the weekend that they had, they played Southampton, and they were up 3-1 at one point before, it kind of fell apart. They didn't lose. It was a draw, but, in some instances, the draw feels like a loss. And obviously there was the post game with Antonio Conte going off on the team. It feels like it's the end for him. There's this international break. I don't know what's going to happen during the international break, if they're going to, sack him, or if they're just going to let him finish out the season. Obviously, you're our resident Tottenham fan, our Tottenham analyst, shall we say. So I'm going to give you the floor here to just let it all out.
So, where do I even begin? So much has happened over the past 48 hours. When I just think it's time for Tottenham fans to take a step back and realize that we're not as good as we think we are. And the reason I say that is because, I'm not saying not have confidence in the team, because I support the team 100%, and I always will, no matter who we're playing against. I'm always going to have full faith that we can go toe to toe. But when you see the results that we put out, and even, when you have players that don't seem to really care that much about being at the club, or they're not putting their whole heart into it, it becomes toxic, and we become even more of a laughing stock than we already are. And, everything that Conte said in that post-match interview was 100% right. I do think that for a long time now, the owner, Daniel Levy, has been a cancer to the club. Now he's a fantastic businessman. I mean, clearly, he's got deals with the NFL. We're getting that F1 track underneath the stadium, where we got the brand new stadium. And the concerts at the venue. I mean, we attract a lot of great attention to the stadium, but not for the reasons that the fans want. I love Tottenham. I did not choose Tottenham. Tottenham chose me as a fan, and I want us to win. I want us to win things. I don't care what concerts play at the Tottenham Stadium. I don't care about an F1 track underneath the stadium. It just seems like Daniel Levy is treating the club as if it's a tourist attraction and not as an actual football club with a rich history and desire to actually win things. I don't think he really cares about that. I think he's completely content with just getting top four every year. But that doesn't really do anything for us because we get into Europe, which is great, and it attracts some pretty decent signings every once in a while. But what do we do there? We don't do anything with it. I would much rather challenge for the domestic cups, like the League Cup or the FA Cup or even the title. We've proven that we can get to those places. We almost won the Premier League in 2016, but it just seems like what's needed is a top to bottom rebuild, starting with the ownership. We need an owner that is not afraid to put money into the club in the right ways, in ways that actually support and help the squad. And Antonio Conte isn't absolved of blame either, because Conte, his style of play does not suit Tottenham. Tottenham has for a long time now been a very attacking team. We've always prided ourselves in our counter-attacking play. You don't see that much with Conte. When we have Pochettino, if we were on the counterattack, it was going to be a chance or a shot on goal, 100%. We were lethal and we were deadly. Now we just kind of sit back and when we play against teams like Manchester City or Chelsea, we play well. We get good results, whether it be a draw or even a win. But when we play against teams like 20th place Southampton or Wolves, who are almost in the relegation zone, we just completely capitulate. And it's like we don't if we don't have to just sit back and defend for our lives, we don't know what to do. And it kills us. It kills us, and it's a pain to watch. So like I said, I just think the thing that we need the most is a rebuild, starting with the owner. But I also think that we need to put more emphasis on younger players that need developed. We need to let them get a shot into the first team because they're in the academy. Let's bring them in. Let's see what they can do. Clearly, they want to play for the club. They're in the academy. They want to be in that first team. When we bring in players like Ivan Perisic, who is like 34 years old, yeah, sure, he was a decent player for Bayern Munich and whatnot and Inter Milan, but for us, he has been dreadful. He has not been good. And that is a player that Conte wanted. That's a player that Conte wanted in. The players that Conte didn't want, the ones that are club signings like Jed Spence or, even like Yves Bissouma or Richarlison, where are they at? Richarlison, granted, has been getting some more minutes lately, and he hasn't really been doing much with them. But, unfortunately, he did go off of that injury. He doesn't utilize these players that actually might improve the squad. And, it shows in the results we get. So, yeah, it's hard to tell. Do I think he's going to get sacked? Probably. It's just kind of a matter of when at this point. I do think it'll happen pretty soon. I think it'll happen before the international break ends. And I do think that Ryan Mason will probably handle the reins until the end of the season, which I'm not opposed to because Ryan Mason, as I've said before on the podcast, he used to play for Tottenham. He clearly loves Tottenham. So if it's going to go to anybody, I'd like it to go to him.
Would you say you want it to go to him on a full-time basis or just to finish out the season?
Just to finish out the season, because he doesn't really have managerial credentials quite yet. I think he would do fine as an interim manager, but because we've had him as interim manager before, when we were in between Nuno and Jose Mourinho, I think. And if I remember correctly, it was not a good stint. It did not go very well for us. So yeah, as an interim manager until we find someone else, I'd be more than okay with that. I want people to run the club that actually care about the club. That's what I want, because I just feel like we just don't have a lot of that right now.
Right. Right. Yeah, it is really a shame because you get these owners who, like you said, they treat it as a business. Like they're worried
Mhm.
about their bottom line more than anything. You said they get to Europe. They don't necessarily go all the way, but they go far enough where you can consider it maybe a success. A comparison is my favorite NFL team, the Minnesota Vikings. We've never been one of the worst teams in the league. We've always been in that like average to like above average. Like this past season, we won 13 out of 17 games. And despite that, no one thought we were going to do anything with it. We ended up losing in the first round to a pretty bad Giants team. And I kind of felt the same way as you, where it's like, I'm tired of like feeling like there's a sliver of hope. But when you think of it in a pragmatic way, it's like, there's no shot we're going to win the Super Bowl, or for you, there's no shot we're actually going to win the Premier League. But
Right.
there's a very small chance, but that small chance is just, the fandom in you that really wants it. Going
Right.
back to the manager, though, I did want to ask, is there anyone that you think would be a good successor to Conte long term? We talked off camera about Vincent Company and the job that he's doing at
Mhm.
Burnley. I thought he
Yeah.
had a really great quote as far as the leadership that he displays when asking about, like, they got that far in the FA Cup, but he says, we're not first in the championship, we're 21st in England, which is a really good way to think about it, because
Mm.
sure, they are winning their league, but you match up against the top dog like Manchester City and you lose 6-0. So
Yeah.
he has the right attitude while trying to encourage his players. Meanwhile, Antonio Conte is just bashing his players after that game. I felt like he had that in his back pocket and was just kind of waiting to use it, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he was talking, it kind of seemed like he was telling the players, my career is better than your club. Yeah, clearly, if I was playing for Tottenham, I would not be playing for Conte for the rest of the season.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of scary to think about how the rest of the season is going to go. Going back to the managerial question, yeah, I think Company would be an awesome replacement for Conte because, well, and I'm going off of Pep students, right? I mean, look at Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta, he's been doing wonders at Arsenal, and he had a rough start. I mean, he came pretty close to getting sacked at one point, I think like near the end of last season, people were calling for him to be like
Hmm.
kicked out, sacked 100%. But now, I mean, they're going to win the Premier League this season. So the turnaround is amazing, and it just goes to show like Pep is just such a mastermind. I mean, I would be interested to see how well Company could do in the Premier League because he's managing who's he managing the championship? Who's
Burnley.
Burnley. So he's managing Burnley right now, and they're winning the championship. And it's like what, like his second year coaching full
Right.
time, something like that. So I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible. The championship, like coaching a championship team, is no easy task at all. So the fact that he's able to go there and do that so soon, I would love to have a manager that can work a wonder like that. Either him or the Brighton manager. The Brighton manager seems like he's doing pretty well. What's his like name's like Deserby or something?
I'm not sure his name, but he's done a great job building off of what Graham Potter left there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I would personally not want another, world class. Well, not but I would not want another
Right.
world class manager to manage a club because I feel like that puts so much expectation on us. Because like you look at managers like Jose Mourinho, he wins everywhere he goes. Antonio Conte, he wins everywhere he goes, and then they come to Tottenham and then they win nothing, and it just kind of makes us look like even more of a joke. I want to avoid that, and I
Right.
want to avoid that for the players as well because that can't be good for the players' psyche. It's probably very damaging for them, and that obviously does not make them play better. So, yeah, it's hard to tell where the club's going to go from here, but it does feel like we're on the verge of something quite dramatic as far as change goes.
Yeah, it does. Antonio Conte very much feels like one of those quick fix managers, like Mourinho, Conte, Tuchel. They kind of fit that like Carlo Ancelotti mold where like you kind of like bring them in because you know you're ready to succeed in the moment. You don't bring him in to like build this giant foundation that might take a couple of
Right.
years, project. I do agree though about Arsenal that they do look primed to win the Premier League as long as Kim Kardashian doesn't show up to any more of those games. Then I think they'll be good. That Kardashian curse came in and
Oh
struck during the
man,
Europa League.
that was
Also
good. That was
struck
good.
PSG.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had that one in my back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like Conte.
Literally.
Man.
But switching over to Champions League and the Italian teams, we got three of the Italian teams on one side of the bracket. So it looks like we're primed to have an Italian team in the championship final of the Champions League, either that or don't want to forget about Benfica. But it is kind of nice to have a refreshing. It's been a lot of English and Spanish domination in the Champions League. Bayern Munich as well. PSG made the final that one year too. But it looks like Napoli is primed to make a run into the final, and if not, win the whole thing. I think that would be an exciting breath of fresh air in European football. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see what they can do.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Napoli's on fire right now. I mean, they're such a fun club to watch with Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen. Osimhen is probably the most informed striker at the moment. Yeah, they're on fire. They're really fun to watch, and I would love to see them get to the final. It'd be good for them, and it'd be good for European football as well.
Since you said that about most informed striker, impromptu question: start one, bench one, sell one. Erling Haaland, Victor Osimhen, or Karim Benzema?
It's start one, bench one,
This
sell one
this season, yeah.
this
So
season. Okay,
obviously
all right.
Benzema's Ballon d'Or winner last year.
Yeah. All right. Start Holland, bench Osimhen, and sell Benzema.
I would agree, and it's kind of crazy to think like a year ago if I posed that question, it'd probably be switch Haaland and Osimhen, but everyone's starting Benzema, like no
Yeah.
question.
You're right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would probably, if it was last year, I'd probably say start Benzema, bench Holland, and sell Osimhen.
It's
Yeah.
just really cool to see the way that these Napoli kids have developed, especially
Yeah.
with guys like Koulibaly,
Yeah.
Insigne, and Mertens all leaving some of their foundational pieces last
Right.
year, and you
Right.
just get these young guys coming in. Hopefully they can stay for more than just the season, because I know
Mhm.
United's looking at Osimhen, and
Yeah.
boy, that would be a big move for them.
Yeah. United's also looking at Harry Kane pretty closely as well.
Yeah, and that
And
kind of goes back into what you were saying about like Tottenham kind of tearing it down. That could be a good chance to sell off a piece.
I kind of want Kane to go, only because he just deserves better, and we could use the money. The only problem is I wish that money was going to a different owner. I just hope it gets spent in the right ways and given back to the club in ways that will be beneficial to us. But yeah. I mean, I actually read a report. It wasn't anything official, but I've been hearing some rumors that Harry Kane has made his intentions very clear that he does not want to be at Tottenham anymore. So it hurts to hear that, but at the same time, it's a bittersweet moment because
Right.
he's given us so many great moments, and he's without a doubt the greatest player in Tottenham's history. And I just feel very honored that I became a fan right at the perfect time to see him do everything that he's done and everything he's accomplished on a personal level. I'm just really proud of him, and I'm very, very honored to know that he was loyal to us for as long as he was and
Right.
still is. But yeah, I think it's definitely time for him to go on, it'd be better for both of us, just for him to go on and find real happiness with somebody else,
Right. And it
it
won't
would
be
be
like an
better.
ugly divorce or anything. It'll be a mutual
Of
parting.
course, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
he'll get the whole video package on Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
More than just
Yeah.
like the goodbye post. He'll get the whole video.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. So, it'll be a mutual agreement, but yeah, sad stuff for sure.
Shifting to our last topic here, Evan's not here to go into too much detail about it, but Borussia Dortmund did take the lead in the Bundesliga title race. Same amount of
Mhm.
games played and everything. They have a 1 point lead. Neither of us are the most avid Bundesliga watchers, of course, but I feel like we're sufficient. We have sufficient knowledge where we can at least have an idea of where we think it's going to go. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I think this is just like a small little lull. I think Bayern Munich is still primed to win the league. given their team, given everything that they've been through, given the history in which that they've won and dominated the Bundesliga. Do you have the same feeling, or do you think that Dortmund can really do it?
I mean, it's hard to disagree just because, like you said, I mean, they've been dominant for so long and they always seem to find a way to get in that top spot. But Dortmund, this is the best Dortmund has looked in quite a while, coming up against Bayern Munich the way they are. I would love to see Dortmund win the league because I just feel like they deserve it. Like they've been so good for so long, but Bayern always they just edge them out by that little bit, and they're usually always only separated by like one or two spots. I think Union Berlin is probably pretty much out of the race.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because like Bayern they always do pretty well and usually end up winning their league, but the Bundesliga is always so close for so long. Like there's always at least like 3 or 4 teams that could just like if something crazy happens they could just jump right up and steal the league, but Bayern always seems to come out on top. But yeah, I would love to see Dortmund win the league. I think they deserve it. And it would be great, especially with like Sebastian Aller with his remission from cancer and all that. And it would just be a really nice story. Also, the fact that this is the first season without Holland, so
Yeah.
it'd be kind of funny if they ended up winning the league and the year after Holland leaves.
Yeah, that would be funny, especially if
Yeah.
like Arsenal ends up winning the Premier League and
Right.
like
Yeah.
City doesn't win the Champions League. It'll kind of be
Yeah.
like a little like fu to Holland.
Yeah. People are probably starting to look at Holland kind of like, what is this guy really all about?
Right, right. It'll be interesting to see how his career shapes up because there's been the talk where with Kylian Mbappe and PSG kind of capitulating here at the end
Yeah.
about Mbappe going back to Madrid, but there's a chance that he might have burnt that bridge with Florentino
Oh yeah.
Perez the way he is, and they could just wait out a year and maybe try and get Holland, and that'd be an fu to Mbappe. So
Oh yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but I'm sure in the short term, his main goal is bringing that UCL to City.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I
Mhm.
do think City have a very high chance of winning it as well. I think it's going to be City. It'll probably be a City versus Napoli final, which I think would be that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
That'd be
they
awesome.
would
I'd
match
love to
up really
see that.
well too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to do it next week, but we're definitely going to do our Champions League predictions for the next round, and that'll be an interesting matchup considering our boy Evan is a Bayern Munich fan, and they're matched up with City in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So that I think
Yeah.
that's the big money matchup to me.
Yeah.
That's the one
Absolutely.
I'm certainly going to be watching.
Yeah. That's gonna be a massive game.
Hmm.
Massive game over both legs.
Right.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys next week, maybe for some Champions League preview, or maybe we'll talk about this international break. Who knows? The world of football is always changing, so we're just trying to stay up to date. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.